next month. That is from FAST. So, Mom, when next time you invite me here, I'll be an invited guest to speak. I pray that you make that every semester. You know Hawaii, eh? I really thank God. One of the things I really like is speaking about the Word of God. I was sitting down and meditating, and the hymn that says, at the cross where first saw the light, and the burdens of my heart rolled away. It was by faith I received my sight. Now I'm happy all the day. Chaplain, I thank you for this opportunity to give me to preach. This is my last preaching at Nairobi campus. I thank God. I joined here in 2010 September semester, and it was only Mr. Ngare around. Then Truki joined, Mr. Karanja, Mr. Kanja. I will say, I will really miss you. I really miss you. Every one of you has something at least that has taught me so much. One thing I always say, I want to preach and sing like Mr. Kanja. Mr. Kanja is one who is singing even in his old age. I was thinking we need to produce an album, Mr. Kanja, by then. You remember that deal of ours last year? And last year but one. You remember our suits with Mr. Ngare? Yeah. Okay, let me not go into that moment. In main campus, I'll continue preaching as I sat there. I want to speak about the topic, Lord, help my unbelief. Lord, help my unbelief. And the first reading was from Mark chapter 9, verse 23-24. It says, and Jesus said unto him, if thou can, all things are possible to him that believeth. Straightway the father of the child cried out and said, I believe, help thou my unbelief. When I was saying, this is a child who had been brought to Jesus by the father. The child was dumb. He had a mute spirit. So the father brought him to Jesus so that he may be healed and be made well to speak. But Jesus told him, if you believe, all things are possible to him that believes. And I like what the father said, Lord, I believe, help my unbelief. One has failed. There's a story I read some time back, and it was about a certain physics professor who was teaching the students about the law of the pendulum. You know, the pendulum that swings from end to end. So he put the pendulum with a string in the class on the board. So he made it swing from every end. And each time it was coming from each end, the professor was marking where it is reaching, until the pendulum finally came and settled. What I say. In that case, basically you know that when it swings from end to end, every time it comes, it will not reach its end where it was. Yeah? So until it settled. Then he asked the class, do you now believe the law of the pendulum? The students said, yes, we believe. He asked them again, do you really believe in the law of the pendulum? Then they said, we really believe. They went out of the class into a hall. So the professor, what he did, there was a plastic string, a large one, with a large stone, a heavy one, in the middle of that building. As it was hanging, he asked for a volunteer to come out so that they may do an experiment. So they made a boy sit on the seat, this side, where the pendulum was in there, at the center. So when the professor made the pendulum, or rather held that stone with the string attached, up to some centimeters from the boy's head, here. Just he may hang this side. So akayachilia. Of course, it will reach the end and comes back. The boy is seated on that chair. So the boy saw the stump reaching that end, started coming back. He saw it reaching the middle. He ran from the chair very fast. So he asked the students again, did that boy really believe in the law of the pendulum? Of course he didn't. That's what happens to us even as Christians. Eh? We say we are born again. We believe in the word as the word of God. I want to pose a question today. Do we really believe in this gospel of Jesus Christ? Do you really believe? If the student believe, angejua, if this professor held that stone at this level to his head, then when it comes, he can figure at some level far than him. See? So there are two things. In this case, there's a difference between believing and thinking that we believe. Seriously. When you read in the book of in the book of John, chapter 1, verse 7, the Bible talks about Jesus came so that all men might believe. And that one brings to the concept why we really believe. We believe through Jesus Christ. That's the message of salvation. See? Jesus came so that all men might believe. And it's also confirmed in John chapter 20, 31, which says that by believing in Jesus Christ, one may have life in his name. In order to be real Christians, we must believe. Lord, help my belief. We must believe. The Bible says, faith is a substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. How do we have faith without first believing? One thing we must understand, it is very easy. It's very easy to think you believe when there is no risk involved. And it's very hard to believe when you risk losing that very important thing in your life. Huh? I told you one of the difficulties I used to encounter when I got born again, that I was in Form 2. There's one thing, we used to go to Kesha. But when I Kesha, the one thing I really wanted not to pray so much, Lord, let your will be done. Especially when I was praying for my girlfriend. I had a girlfriend before I got born again. Because my heart is telling me, if I pray that, God will take her away. So I really avoid that thing. I believed in God to do other things, but not to that extent. So I rather not pray to God about that. Two questions I want to pose to you. And I want you to examine yourself and really answer that. If you, of course, you don't answer here, you at your own closet. What is it that you really believe in this life? What is it that you really believe in? And the second question is, ask yourself, to what extent do you really believe in that thing? To what extent do you really believe in that thing? Some of us, we still stand because we have not really faced something that can take us away from God. That's why we still stand in God. Suppose that thing comes that can take us away from God. Can we really still stand in God? One of the things I always believe is that God has created us for his own pleasure and for his own purpose. God made everything, and he saw